Check 1 2 check. Hi, this is another video to talk about our final topic actually for web analytics, which is data visualization, which we've actually talked about already. I think last week, all right, where we talked about how, just to recap, right, how we talked about how baseball, for example, uses a lot of these visual markers to explain a little bit better in terms of what you know, how all these things. See, I don't really know about baseball, but examples like this, what you see here in this picture, like it gives a clearer visualization of how do you analyze the sport data, like actually like baseball. Right, so this is just a recap of what we went through. Just a few things if you look into it. So we stopped somewhere here last week where we talked about how we were approached by HealthWorks, which was actually a government a non-profit organization, but it's a government body. So how they approached us as an agency to then do something like an infographic for them. So I want you guys to look at infographics specifically today as a topic, as something that is a key thing to data visualization. All right, so infographics as a key platform for visualizing data, or at least in my understanding, it helps to categorize data in a much more in more meaningful ways. All right, because the fact is this, I mean, just to visit back to this again, you look at back to this slide, it's all numbers, it's all things that you look at it doesn't seem that appealing. Right, now data, right, I like to put it out as data is not always appealing, or in like another term, or actually means data is not always appealing or mean something significant, right, if you don't put it up as a way to put to bring meaning. I don't know, I'm typing. But as a way to bring, you know what I mean, right? To make sense, right? To others. Others here being the mass market. Yeah. It's been a long day, guys. Bear with me. Anyway, let's come back to this. So all of this, I think I've shown you this before, translated into, infographics, which is much more interesting. And we talked about Google Trends and how trends these days can be translated into something like this, where it's a much more greater visualization of data rather than just rows and rows and rows of search data. So look at Google Trends, for example. It's a very good example. Selfie City, I've looked into it already. Now, the video for today is to talk about this, right? Types of visualization, and also what does colors and shapes, how does line infographic, how does all these image and icons bring meaning into visualization. It's a bit of a design thing here, so bear with it for a while, right? There's a thing called visual grammar. Now, if you study design school, visual grammar is one of the basic ingredients, basic things, basic languages you will actually engage in. So visual grammars are things where you you speak a specific language, visually speaking, right? So in this case, we look at shapes and colors, all right? So what would be good is that here's are some examples, all right? If you do, for example, want to represent one category, all right? All right, so put it into one shape. So like example like this one, okay? So example, circle represents number of visits per month, all right? So for example, if you draw out data from, say, from last week, and you are comparing lights, right, as in category of lights on FB platform, okay? Say month 1 you have 18 lights, month 2 you have 24 lights, okay? So how do you bring this, right, this portion here into a visualized data that makes sense, right? So there's a few ways. One, you can be blatantly obvious about it and type 18 and 24, but in this case, looking at visual grammar, all right, the shape indicates something as well. Different colors, different shapes, different sizes, different icons represents different things. All right. So in this case, we start with the simpler one. One category, one shape. If you want to represent one category, put it into the same shape. If you're comparing both, right? So for example, here circle represents the number of visits per month. In this case, just take it as a circle, right, representing lights. All right, and you're comparing month 1 and month 2. So by putting two circles like this together, month 1, month 2, it shows visually speaking, it gives a very quick identification of what you're talking about. So at least you're not talking about different things. Visually speaking, you know already, even without jumping into explaining it, just by visually speaking, just by the shape you're using, all right, and the consistency of it, you know that you're talking about roughly the same thing. All right, so I'm going to jump a few steps ahead. I'm going to go ahead and go to my favorite tool, Google Slides. All right, there's a few tools for you to learn later on, which I will bring it to you. But let's look at Google Slides, for example. So you've seen Google Slides before. It's pretty straightforward. All right, so just try to use example like this. I'm just going to give a quick demonstration, right, of what I mean. Okay, so for example, for something like this, yeah, month 1 and month 2, what you want to do is keep it into the same consistency of a shape that you're using. So I'll just go ahead and insert a shape. All right, circle. Now I'll draw out this. This is a very ugly circle. Wait. You want to hold the shift button and you drag so that it's a consistent shape like this. Remember, you hold the shift button. So you have this shape, right? And what I'll do is I'll just copy and paste this over here. All right. Okay, let me put it here like that. So visually speaking, I mean, this is a very basic one, but I hope you understand what I'm talking about, right? Facebook lights comparison month to month. Yeah. So you may put something like that. All right. And you can put just the word 18, but maybe just put it a bit bigger. Put it to 30 maybe. Also, what you want to also indicate 1824, right? Yeah, so month 1 is 18, this 24. But what you want to do then is maybe then you want to shrink this down a little bit just to show that there is a growth. All right. So in fact, I don't even want to put this because then this looks a very what do you call that, rudimentary compared to this. So what I want to do is maybe just replace this with icons. All right, Facebook icon. All right, because the goal of data visualization is not about presenting a beautiful data or whatever. It's about using less words, right, and getting your job done. All right. So what I want to do is we can put this over here. Oh, it's a very ugly icon. Hold on, guys. Let me look for more icons. Yeah, you will do. Yep. Facebook icon. All right. Maybe a like button. A like icon. All right. And you can use anything you want. So for example, like this. This is black and this is already PNG for you. Ah, what the hell. Anyway, all right. So something like this will work best. Or even for example, if you know you're talking about Facebook, You don't even need the icon sometimes, so I can just remove this actually. All right, and go something like this. Yep. Okay, so of course I think we're lacking a labeling here. Man1, right? Maybe not M1. Yeah, and M2, right? So you can see immediately what happens here is already an easier, a more visually appealing, and a more perhaps something that makes more sense compared to just reading this, you know, right? Man1 18. I mean, yeah, these are data still. I'm not saying these are not like data, but you see, our job as a marketer also involves trying to make these numbers interesting, right? So this is it's not the best, but I can say it's better than presenting it as just plain numbers. Okay, you got me, right? So the purpose of today's tutorial is to explore these things. Okay, so anyway, this is one category, one shape, so try to maintain the same category to the same shape. For example, same shape, different colors to show comparisons. For example, white circle, we're talking about I don't know which one I'm talking about. White circle shows August visits, red circle shows September visits. So yeah, we're talking about this thing here. All right, so using different colors indicates could show comparison better, right? Different shapes and colors shows fragmentation of data. So for example, you can use this icon here, now this side, blue circle for visits, yellow square for bounce rates, red triangle for conversions. So you can use something like this quickly to just visualize very quickly what do you want to show your clients in terms of a spread of data. All right, so for example, like you see blue circle, this one for visits, yellow square for bounce rates, and red triangle for conversions. Okay, so straight away you are then visually speaking, you don't even need to explain, you are then separating it into different shapes and to represent different meaning. All right, I want to copy and paste this. I want to remove this. All right, let's just do a quick exercise of this, and then I just want to go through very quickly the bottom ones. So this one's done. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to remove this. All right, insert shape. All right, square or triangle, rectangle. Right, so this could be visits, 18 visits. All right. Okay, and this could be because it's square, right? Square, what is it? Square, where is it? Yellow square. Oh yeah, bounce rate, right? So say bounce rate is 60%, 60.4%. All right. I hope I'm making sense so far, yeah, guys. Because yeah, I can't see your face, so I don't know if you understand this. You know, and I ask you in class, and you be like, "Oh yeah, I understand." So I hope you truly understand this. Okay. All right. Visually speaking, you try to bring meaning. I guess at the end of the day, what we try to do with our data is we try to just make sense of it better compared to just us talking all the time, right? Because at the end of the day, if you ask what are we doing with all this data, it's just for clients to see, right? So I have an example later on to show you, and that will be something for us to talk about. Show something else. So let's just say we call this visits bounce rate. Let's just call this sessions. All right, number of sessions completed in the month. So this could be say 225. Oh no, let me 225. Why is it so down? Go middle. Okay, go to the middle. Okay, whatever lah. Okay, what I mean. All right. So so for example, this could be titled as Web Analytics Data, and you want to report for this month, so May 2019. All right. So visually speaking, I know you're thinking, some of you might be thinking, hey, we need to do man this kind of things. Do we really need to put it into visuals? Again, the context of you learning this is because at the end of the day, all right. Okay, I'm gonna type it here, yeah, because some of you may what do you call that? Skip forward this, right? Why do we want to represent our data in visualized forms? Because once again, in our context as marketers, our job is to bring meaning to communication. Simple as that. That's a very simple and direct answer. So if data is part of what we want to communicate, therefore our responsibility is to ensure that the communication is as clear as possible, right? Okay, so that's in our context and also in the context of you studying this subject. Okay, hope I make sense. Yeah. You can see the rest different shape. So I've actually covered it already. Different shape represents a different we call it rise and decline of categories. All right. Uniformity of data. So this is just to let you know which is easier to digest in understand in terms of visual value integrity. So you can see, this obviously is not great. This is better. So make sure everything is aligned. All right. Okay, and also top to bottom is always the best. All right. And also if you want to prioritize a shape and color to make it stand out compared from the rest. We do use this, by the way. This is not rocket science, right? But sometimes just a confession time. If we want to cover up our mistakes that we didn't report that well, we do use something like this to just confuse our clients, right? Where we just put big the color. For example, like this, we don't want them to see the bounce rate. If we don't want them to see the bounce rate in session so much, we will just shrink this, maybe shrink it into really small, right? Alamak, but the sizing is weird. Let's just put it 11. All right, let's just put you to 11 too. Okay, so you see, just by manipulating it, the sizing wise, and the clients will be like thinking that we have a lot of visits straight away, right? And maybe I just change the color here a bit, something more exciting, like yellow. Wow, maybe put this into a duller color so that clients don't see. I mean, you might be thinking, is this a joke? I sometimes it's not. So sometimes it is. Sometimes we do things like this, right? To sort of just throw the client off. Okay, but more often than not, we use this to just this sort of like visual format to make it stand out better, to make it look nicer. More often than not, that we try to hide things from our client. All right. So anyone want to run through some of these infographic examples? All right, then we're done. 4 steps to visualize content data. Now, this is an example of how do you come with a way to tell content and data. All right. So there are a few steps here. Okay. At the end of the day, you will get to this destination. All right. So this whole 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slides here shows how you can get from these very boring numbers, exactly like what you saw earlier on with the mama in the infographic, into this. All right. So step 1, I would say it's called tell the right story, but what I would say actually this, right? I always ask these few questions. So for example, this is something I took from a case study somewhere. What is the purpose of visualizing my data? All right. So I want to ask. I want to always, before I visualize something, before I go into the step of trying to visualize something, heck, even before I try to design a slide to show in my class, I always ask myself, what's the purpose of me doing this? All right, to visualizing this. Okay, there must be a direction, right? So of course, for me as a lecturer in my class, I'm doing it so that my students can understand me. What do I want my students to understand then? I want my students to understand yada yada yada. Point 1, point 2, point 3. All right. So having an objective is very important first, right? So this is Twitter. So this few slides here is talk about the most followed Twitter account in 2017. Right? So for example, Twitter most followed account is Katy Perry. Right? Katy Perry is the most popular personality on Twitter in 2017, but isn't too far ahead of Justin Bieber. I'm not sure if you can see the numbers here, but it's actually actually I also can tell the numbers. But later on you will see. Okay. Who am I trying to communicate this purpose to? Example, audiences or followers of Twitter, celebrity news. So who will see this? Actually, who will see your visuals determines how you should do the visuals, right? Sometimes some clients of mine prefers to see things simple like this, right? And I kid you not, this is all I show them, okay? But some more demanding clients want to see something a little bit more, we call it jazzy, right? So something a little bit more finesse. There's a bit more thought behind it, so we can't show it to them in this shape, or else they'll flip, right? In this case, you want to communicate this thing to Twitter followers or people who actually have a decent knowledge of celebrity news, right? And lastly, how are you going to visualize the purpose? How are you going to change? How are you going to make sense of this, right? So as you can see, there's a few accounts here. I don't know if you can see now. Katy Perry, Justin Bieber, Barack Obama, Taylor Swift. I can't see this. What is this? Rihanna, I think Rihanna, Ellen DeGeneres, Lady Gaga, YouTube, Justin Timberlake, right? And these are the number of their followers right here. So how are you going to visualize this as best as possible? The answer is here, but I guess you can see it's quite clear from these slides here. You will want to portray this in maybe a bar chart to see who's leading, right? As in which category they are on. So from here, you can build your slide slowly to look something like this. All right. How popular is Katy Perry on Twitter? Okay, and you can see there's a lot of names here, but if you look at this slide, if you look at this as the final product, this will look damn confusing too, because not only you can't see the names that's displayed here, it's also not that visually attractive, isn't it? Right? So what is the purpose of you? So again, these are the questions to ask yourself, right? What's the purpose of you visualizing this? You want to show who's in the leader, right? Who are you communicating this to? Now I can tell you for sure, if this is seen by a student or seen by a young person, they will just turn off. In fact, actually, show this to anyone on social media, I won't even look at it, right? This is more of a poor attempt at trying to visualize it. So if this is your final product coming from this, right, this two actually doesn't have that much of a difference. Alright, just that this is just visualize numbers into this chart, but it doesn't really mean much. So what you want to do is try to, in this stage, try to lessen your clutter. That's one important lesson here. I'm going to just put lesson points here, okay, on how to visualize. How should you visualize data? Number one, like I said, have a purpose. Number two, try to declutter your data. Lesson. Try to what's the word I want to use? Try to reduce your range of data too. The issue with some infographics is that it can be too much. I'm going to go a few slides up, by the way. Just going to look into the Mama infographic again. Now, to some people, this is a lot already. All right. Okay. In fact, I think when I in memory serves me right, I remember as a team we advised the clients to not put so many food items, because then it wouldn't, because people's attention span are not that great. I think by this stage, by like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, by the 12th dish, people will go like, yeah, I get your point. All right, but I think client insisted in this, so we have no choice but to show it. Okay, so back to this again. If you show it in this form, there's so many other names, no point. So what you want to do, you want to declutter your data, you want to reduce your range of data. So you look something like this, right? And this is just reducing your amount of data, making sure your audience has a clear direction to receive the message as clearly as possible. Now this looks better than this already. All right, okay, does it answer the purpose? Yes, it still does. You still show Katy Perry in comparison with these people. This is a very big range, right? So you don't need to know how popular she. I think by like comparison by these few people, you already can guess. Okay, yeah, fine. She's popular. We know that. right? So what you want to do is, in this case, this guy here in this case study took just the nearest 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6% apart from Katy Perry. Right, so you can see Katy Perry, Justin Bieber, Barack Obama, Taylor Swift, Rihanna, Ellen, and Lady Gaga. Right? This answers a very clear question, which is question number 1. What is the purpose of visualizing my data? You want to show that Katy Perry is the most famous. Correct? So this answers it. But does it answer question number 2 and number 3? Alright? Perhaps number 3, yes. But number 2, who am I trying to communicate this purpose to? Audiences and followers of Twitter, students, for example, who want to look into this on social media. Now, again, this is nothing wrong, but it's not that appealing. Again, right? And again, there's no indication at one glance that this is Twitter. Alright? Even though I see the word Twitter and followers, there's no indication. I have to read it. How popular is Katy Perry on Twitter? Oh, right? It takes me at least 3 seconds or 4 seconds to understand this. Okay? So I remember when I was visualizing data with my ex-boss, right? My ex-boss always say this one thing, and this thing stuck with me for life. It will stick with me for life. If you can't catch attention, right, in 2 seconds, forget it. Right? This is in response when I was visualizing a bunch of data for a paint client, right? I think it was Nippon Paint. Alright. Okay. When I was reading data for Nippon Paint, we had them for a client for a few months, and we were helping them to manage their web traffic. And I was doing this, and he just said that if you can't, because I was putting it together in the spreadsheet. I think I arrived at this destination of doing it in bar chart, making it nice, but it doesn't catch people's attention. I have to spend time looking into it, understand it. So what you do is simply just make sense of it. Alright? So what this guy did was straight away just put in Twitter color scheme. Alright? Now if you've not seen Twitter's logo before, Twitter's logo looks something like this. It's black, no, it's black, it's blue, it's white. The color schemes are blue and white. Alright? So what this guy do is simply just took this color scheme and apply it here. Okay? Alright? Now this is nothing, so I think this answers, alright, and what he did was he just highlighted Katy Perry big here, alright, on Twitter. So this is better than this, confirm, right? But it still lacks one final push. It's a bit harder to see, alright? You can see that the bar charts are all lined up like that. You sort of have to tilt your head a bit to see it. Imagine seeing it on your phone is fine, but seeing it on your laptop or seeing it on something, it's a bit hard to see. So what you do then, you just flip it around. And to make it even more interesting, you add your visual grammar into it. Circles, right? And you put their pictures in it to make it even more convincing. Right? So this and this, the key difference is this has less of a visual grammar emphasis. This has a visual grammar emphasis. Okay? Although I would say that this guy here who made this infographic sort of made these people look like they're dead lah, right? Because they're black and white. But you know, who cares? Okay. Wait. Do I actually have it? Okay, right, sorry. I thought I didn't record this. Anyway, right, so now come back to yeah, so I've got some examples here which I'll run through you in class about. But what I want you to do now is, I'm going to end already because that's it. I don't spend too much time doing this video. I want to give you your blended learning. Alright. So your blended learning for this week, alright, is very, very simple, guys, and this will help you in your future work, in preparation. So what I want you to do is, I want you to pick 2 highlights from week 1. Right, highlights meaning it can be anything. It can be like total number of likes, total number of I don't know, right? Subscribers, followers, right, etc., etc. Pick 2 highlights, and I want you to either use Google Slides, or other platforms like Canva. But anyway, just take the Google Slides first, because I think on Tuesday I want to go through Canva with you guys. Alright, if you've not used Canva before, Canva is amazing. Canva is a design website that I often use as well to create posters, to create you know, even infographic. I use it sometimes. Okay, so right, I'll talk about Canva in our next class, but for now, use Google Slides. Yeah, use Google Slides to do something like this, right? To represent it. Okay, all right, to represent, to visualize your highlights from week 1. Okay, and then what I'll do is on class next week, we will look into some examples that you have created and sort of see from a critic's perspective on how accurate your visual grammar is. Okay, to make sure that everybody understands clearly. All right. Okay, that's all for this tutorial, and I'll have the rest here to cover up with you for Tuesday's class. Thank you guys. Have a good day.